You missed it there, Mr. Bill.
What did I miss?
I'm going to show you Grebo's new proposed nickname.
For himself?
I didn't come up with it. You don't give nicknames to yourself.
You don't give.
You don't ever give
nicknames.
nicknames to yourself. That's
But I'd like to propose. Can't believe we haven't figured it out earlier. But look at Bowser and Grabowser.
I like it.
Grabowski.
You show your brother too. He'll probably fix something up 3D scan for you.
Yeah.
All right, you are in order now.
All right.
If you want me to separate the
I mean, just right there. I might have to just take the picture right there. Oh yeah, look at that. See the eyes, Bill? Look at Bill. Look at that. It's totally.
Oh, it looks just like him.
He breathes out of his. You know when he's pissed, he breathes out of his eyelids.
like the Galapagos lizards.
Well, welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, our favorite pizza place, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Today we are here to talk about the NFL Draft 2025 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Do you realize it's the second NFL Draft taking place in Green Bay, Wisconsin?
I did not know that.
The first time it took place in Green Bay, I forget the year, but it was the fifth draft ever in the history of the NFL Draft. Actually took place in, not Green Bay, but in Milwaukee. Took place in Milwaukee, so this is the second. The big takeaways on this, they say Green Bay is a population of around 110,000. They're expected to bring in 250,000 fans into Green Bay for draft weekend, and rain is expected. So outside the stadium, everything I hear is free to be outside in the fenced-in area, outside of Lambeau, outside of the Resch Center. But tickets, if you want to be on TV up front where the teams boo and cheer for the draft picks, start off at $3,000 a ticket. So you better be bringing your pocketbook, and it is cashless, so you better bring your cards.
La 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 Lambo!
He's $3,000, huh? Oh,
You can probably buy a couple of those tickets.
You guys gonna go or no?
I am not going, but I know Bill is going.
Yeah.
I'm going to a NFL Players Association party near Lambeau, and I'm going to be taking a friend of the podcast with me, and hopefully we come back with some pictures and enjoy ourselves.
Nice.
So yeah, probably going to stay until Green Bay takes their pick, and then make the drive back here.
Also going on Thursday. Going to be out in the fans. I think that's just walking around all the bars out there. Fantastic area. And then on Saturday is Brad Paisley.
Oh, nice.
So I've been to a few of the concerts that the Packers put on in the parking lot. Fantastic. Seeing
So he's doing it in the parking lot?
pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Big and Rich. I've seen Montgomery Gentry. Just fantastic.
Wait, you're saying all these are in the parking lot or in the
Well,
Resch
it's
Center?
just, no.
'Cause, I saw, who was it that was inside of Lambeau on the field?
Well,
Kenny
that was
Chesney.
Kenny way back.
Kenny
Chesney.
Chesney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brown Band was
Yes.
I went to the Kenny Chesney one.
Yeah, you didn't want to come up and say hi, though.
No, I'm pretty sure you weren't even talking to me. And,
I was there looking. Where's Joe?
No,
Where's
I
Joe?
don't think get any.
And you were just
idea.
like, you were probably down like
Listen,
in
I
the
was,
front.
I was in the sand. I high-fived Zach Brown.
Did you really?
Yeah, right there.
You know that song "Boys of Fall"?
Yeah.
I think it's "Boys of Fall." That's live audio from that day
Yeah.
in Lambeau.
It was epic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The only thing that I remember, if you are tailgating, here's a little secret. You don't have to wait for the porta potties, right? Because like round 3, like when you go and you're talking, all of a sudden you got to go, and it's 25, 30 people deep. Like you're almost peeing your pants, right? Guess what? They have outdoor doors into the stadium, bathrooms.
You're saying at a concert?
When you're tailgating outside of Lambeau,
Oh yeah.
they have outdoor doors to go into the bathrooms. Yeah.
Really?
Had no idea.
I did not know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
No
it's
clue.
one of those things that you
So there
definitely
you
remember.
have it. Kevin Stinky is the new
Tip of the day.
tailgating expert at Lambeau Field to get you all the shortcuts.
He's gonna start dropping some pins where all the rest
Where all the
are at
restrooms
Lambeau.
are, absolutely.
All right. So the biggest question on everybody's mind Thursday night: who are the Packers taking in the first round? We got a list in front of us of probably about 15 guys. My takeaway is with Jair Alexander being gone from Green Bay, 1,000% you have to go with the cornerback.
Okay.
It's just
Is he gone?
to my knowledge, he's gone. I don't believe
When did he get drafted? No, he didn't get traded.
Talbot?
He didn't get traded.
They didn't re-sign him though.
No, he's still on the Packers roster.
All right. Well, you go on and look this up.
Why don't you pull out your Google machine
Yeah.
and figure it
Well,
out?
who do you guys think they're going to
Well,
draft?
while you're Googling it, what do you think, Joe? Well, I'd say this. They need a D tackle, right, for sure. If there's a stud D tackle from Georgia, that would be one guess. I don't think they go receiver. I mean, everybody wants in the draft. They've never gone with the public opinion.
No.
Last year they took the offensive lineman. If there's a stud 6'6" edge rusher, I think they take him.
Well, I mean, you have Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan, so I don't think he's going to go first round, though. But,
No?
I think you need to shore up your defensive line. And we've said this a million times. It's your offensive line and your defensive line are your foundation of any football team. And if you don't have them established, it doesn't matter who the hell you draft. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's null and void because if you can't have your front five up front doing their job, nothing you're going to do throughout the rest of the game or the season is going to amount to a hill of shit.
Correct. Well, Kevin was correct. As of today, he is still on the roster. With that being said, I'd still push. I don't disagree with an edge rusher, but I'd still push for a cornerback because one, he's very injury prone. Two, he's going to be gone eventually. If not, if he doesn't sign a 1-year deal or if he's not here for 1 more year, he is not a franchise Packer.
Well, we just signed the DB from the Raiders. He came in. That was one of the big signings. We'll have to Google also his name. Now that you put me on the spot while you're doing that. But I will say fourth round, guaranteed Packers will take the best Big Ten center out there. And Ohio State's got a center. It's in their game book. They've done it twice. That's one of the things that the Packers do. And you get center rankings right here. I'm going to say it right now. Seth McLaughlin, 6'4", 305. Guaranteed their third, fourth round.
He's a little on the short side, right, Bill?
Easy now.
Yeah.
I'm almost 6'4". So if you're saying he's short,
then
then you're saying I'm short. I'm like 6'3"3/4.
Who would say that you're short when you duct tape cardboard circles to your
You got to do what you got to do. And just to take a little flashback, like whenever the draft comes around, I always think about this. And it's sort of my ongoing joke that to get drafted by the Green Bay Packers, I had to run a 36-yard 40. And the reason I say that, I got injured before the combine, so I didn't run at the combines. And then at our pro day,
would you have been under six flat?
Oh yeah, injured I ran. Injured at pro day, I ran sub 6 flat. If I didn't get injured, I think I would have been close to the 5 flat area.
So when they say a 300-plus pound guy running under 5 flat is like equivalent to a 170-pound guy running sub 4.4, do you believe that?
I'd say it's like running sub 4.3.
Really?
Yeah. Because you don't maybe on the D-line side you will, but an O-lineman running sub 5 is like a DB running under 4.3.
Yeah. You
just don't see it that often.
No.
So to hit on me, so I tore my quadricep, went to pro day, didn't run at the combines, went to pro day. At our pro day at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, ran horribly. It was the day, and the Packers had 2 picks in the third round, and this is 2001. They had 2 picks in the third, and then 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And they wanted to know when I was traveling back to Pennsylvania to watch the draft. They came to Madison the day before. A scout came down, just one scout. So it was me and our guy B-Bot, the assistant strength coach, Brian Bott, who owns multiple strength and speed facilities now in and around the Madison area. We go up in the McLean Center. I run a 40. The scout shakes his head no. Run a 40 again, shakes his head no. Asks B-Bot to go get a roll of tape measure. Measures out and he goes, "That's what's wrong. Your field is lined incorrectly." Puts a piece of tape down at 36 yards. He's like, "Line up and run again." Clocks me, goes, "It's good enough to take back to Green Bay." So I ran a 36-yard 40.
Wow.
Gave it, he had a good enough time on his clock where he didn't have to lie. Went back there and ended up getting drafted in the 4th round after that. So 36-yard 40, folks.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you go ahead of a Heisman Trophy winner?
I
that
did.
year?
I was an offensive lineman that got drafted the pick before a Heisman Trophy winner.
And who was
So if you
Heisman
know the
Trophy?
answer, put it in the comments. It was. I should have him do that. Now the Heisman Trophy winner's going to feel bad. I'm trying to blank on that. The quarterback from Florida State. I played with him in Carolina.
And right there, that's CT there, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
Right there. All three of us are.
The Hammer's listening to this in Pennsylvania, and he goes, I know who it is. Oh, I can picture the guy. Blonde-haired. Now I'm going to edit this.
Why, Bill? This is the trials and
Well,
tribulations.
while you're looking, all right, do you take a guy that's 6'5" with how can you be 6'5" running a force?
Wanky.
Chris Wanky.
Really?
Yep. So I played with him in Carolina, and the day I walked in, I knew exactly who he was. I was like, "Hey, Chris, how you doing? You know, I think I was a center in Carolina, and I'm the new center they just brought in." And I go, "Hey, you got drafted in 2001, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Who got drafted right before you?" I go, "I can't remember that draft too much." He's like, "Screw you, dude," walked away.
So he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he went 4th round.
Now, so the deal with Wanky went to play baseball after high school. So he played 4 years of baseball on a contract. Then he came back. So when he entered college, I think he was 22 years old. When he went in the draft, he was 28 years old.
Okay, so
That's
that would make sense because otherwise you.
Well, it wouldn't make sense.
It makes a lot of damn sense.
It's still an anomaly that I got picked before the Heisman, but I'm just saying it happened.
All right, let me propose something here for you. If you see an edge rusher, 6'5", let's say he's 265, he's been a 2-year starter, but he's only got 2.5 sacks. And he runs a 4.6. So on paper, he's a superhero, but on the field, he's a Jane.
Well, I think your problem is what you said there is on paper, because there's a different animal from being on paper and having statistics that you're a physical specimen. But we've talked about this before in the podcast. You got to be able to flip that switch, and you have to be an asshole. You have to be a complete jackass and be able to turn that on and then turn it off. And we all know players who haven't had that ability to flip that switch and become a prick.
Well, I even said with KGB, Kabaja in Green Bay, he was that player, got paid $30 million, and he flipped that switch and shut it down.
Oh, really?
The day he got the money, he shut it down. I'm not on special teams anymore. I'm not on the field on 1st and 2nd down. I'm a 3rd down rusher. That's it. Shut it down. And that was the day I told my dad that there's backups that are better than starters, but they won't put the backups in because the starter's making too much money. And they won't cut the starter because if they cut him and he goes, like say Kabir, he gets cut, goes to Chicago, he's still affecting Green Bay's cap. So when Green Bay plays Chicago, Green Bay's still affected by him, even though he's getting paid by Chicago. Right. So I wouldn't take the guy. Now, if when you say edge rusher, you're saying a pass rusher, right?
Yeah.
Like when I hear edge, I hear pass rusher, not run stopper, right?
Well, that's the definition. I mean, they're going for these guys that are running 4.5s. They're 6'5", but to me, is statistics have to back up
absolutely
what the physical specimen is showing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we saw guys in college. We had the guy that fell down the flight of stairs on purpose. Yeah. That I mean, he looked like he should have been a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He was chiseled out of stone.
And he's an offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman with abs.
Not an ounce of fat on the guy.
Yeah.
He walking around with his shirt off like he should be a cover of Men's Health magazine. Yeah. Like one of those kind of
guys. He looked in better shape than our linebackers.
Yeah.
And he was 6'5", 300, 310, whatever, and just couldn't play football.
Yeah.
If you'd like fresh roasted Cabin Coffee delivered directly to your door, go to Cabin Coffee Altoona's Facebook page or 217 South Mills Facebook page. Click on the coffee order form link, fill it out, pick out your beans, and get them delivered directly to your front door. Cabin Coffee Altoona.
We had at Bowling Green, we had a gentleman that came in from JUCO, right? I mean, Hercules. I mean, in the weight room, it was like, wow, playing fullback, right? And I mean, benching, it was close to 500 pounds, squatting 600 pounds. First day of pads, he was on his ass 3 times, the first 3 plays. And we're like,
look at who was the big time UFC fighter that tried out for the Vikings? Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar.
I mean, couldn't do shit. You know,
that's amazing.
He would destroy people in a cage,
and
couldn't hold his own. And wrestling too, yeah, but couldn't do anything on the field. I always argue that Samoans are the strongest people on the planet. Mm-hmm. We had a Samoan in Green Bay that our bench. So your bench test at the combines is 225, 225. bench test once you get to the NFL for O-line, D-line is 315. This guy was benching, gets to like in the 20s with 315 and goes, what's the team record? They go 28, bangs it out to 28, pauses, bangs it out to 32, racks it. Never stepped foot on a football field in the NFL. But it's like, name me a football player you know that could do 32 times with 315 but couldn't play football.
Most guys can't do that with 225.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
I certainly couldn't.
That's insane.
You know, but there's the opposite is I couldn't do that with 2 1/4, but I could play football.
So yeah, to answer your question, 100%, you have to go off statistics because there's a lot more to be read as to you can have the physical attributes to do anything, but if you don't have that drive and you don't have that mentality and you don't have that flip the switch, it doesn't matter, and it's futile to even speculate on it.
So here's another thing. Quarterbacks. You know, we've been hearing Shedeur Sanders. I mean, in the huddle, when you think of a quarterback, you guys are linemen. Who do you guys follow? What type of quarterback leads teams to victories? I mean, you've been obviously.
Yeah, I think first off, you got to have a quarterback with the utmost confidence. You know, like that was my thing with Favre in Green Bay. You know, I've said before on the podcast, we could be down by 17 with a minute 50 on the clock, and we had the attitude we were going to win that game.
Yeah.
And it's not that often where any other situation you're like, we're losing. Let's just get out of here. No injuries, get out. But when that quarterback has the utmost confidence, the O-line pulls from it, the receivers pull from it. And, yeah, confidence has to be first and foremost.
I think your guys that are field generals, they've proven themselves in those situations, and they don't have the deer in the headlight look or the mile, stare off into space, or their eyes are as big as freaking watermelons, and you're like, and we've all seen
that
those
when
guys.
the backup comes in the game.
You walk in there and you're like, okay, like you got to blink, okay,
Yeah.
like at least blink for us. Are you breathing?
Right.
Like, come on, like pretend you've been here before. At least fake it, So, but I think 100% is you got to have a guy who's a field general and somebody who's tough. I think we had Mike Samuel, and that guy was just a
Tough as nails.
tough, getting smoked in the backfield, and would never lay down. And just every time he got knocked out, he got back up. And some of the hits too, he took, you're like, holy crap!
Yeah.
He just got back up.
So when you hear the word moxie, what's your definition of a quarterback that has moxie?
I don't know.
I think it's Barry Alvarez. Not to interrupt you, but I didn't know if you were going to go with the word or find the word.
No, I'm going with Varsity Blues. Like,
There you go.
what wasn't that swagger?
I was going to take Coach Alvarez's word that we
Yep.
feel that he invented because I never heard it before him was swagger. Just walking around like with confidence, not cockiness, that you own the joint. We're coming in, we're going to get a win, and we're going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great stories I heard in the Super Bowl when the 49ers were down, Joe Montana's the quarterback, right? Before the infamous catch, they got a TV timeout, and all of a sudden Joe Montana, he's in the huddle and he looks around and he's like, "Oh, that's John Candy," right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody, all the teammates just kind of all that stress, and they're just relaxed. They go down the field and throw that infamous pass to Dwight Clark in the end zone where he jumps up at the end. I mean, that's moxie right there, right?
And see, I think that's the thing about good quarterbacks, established quarterbacks. Like my first NFL regular season game I ever got in because Marco Rivera hurt his knee. So I'm on the sidelines. As soon as I see him go down, I make sure my helmet's buckled up. They're like, "Ferrario, you're in." I didn't realize it was a TV timeout. I sprint on the field. And I'm like, "What's the play? What's the play?" Start asking about the play. And Favre looks at me and he smiles. He goes, "Ferrario, what round were you drafted in?" And I'm just like, "What's the play, Brad? Like, why are we asking about draft, where I was drafted?" I was like 4th. He goes, "Man, if you ran like that on the combines, you probably would have been a first rounder." And I'll tell you, when he said that, I was just like, whew.
Yeah.
Like everything went out. I was like, all right, let's relax, just like practice. But that's the thing about quarterbacks today. When we look at the draft, I think there's so many tiny intangibles that they're looking at that these guys aren't set. Like, I know a lot of people are saying this isn't the quarterback draft, and it's not the best quarterback draft ever. We've had better quarterback drafts before, but no matter what, it's still an NFL draft. These guys are still top of the line quarterbacks, and I think it's such little things that differentiate where guys are going to go.
Okay.
You guys watching John Gruden?
Yes, we
Yes.
talked about that earlier.
I think he's fantastic.
Yes.
When he gets in the quarterbacks and he breaks down and he talks about past concepts, I mean, That guy's a student of the game.
I mean, Bill even made a comment earlier. He's like, I bet you NFL teams that are drafting people are watching his videos,
Absolutely,
and they're picking up on just a ton of technicalities that you won't be able to pick up at the combine. I mean, and I know how just hearing Bill talk about how the combine goes, that is very, very like detailed, and every team has their own doctor, physicals for 32 teams, blah 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 blah. But I think you get to see them almost in I wouldn't say a relaxed state, because I don't think talking to Coach Gruden would be. I mean, you better have your shit together. But I imagine just the amount of knowledge that guy has and what he picks up on is unbelievable.
absolutely.
I said to Joe, I think it was Will Howard from Ohio State was in with him. And the one question that Gruden asked him was, he goes, pretend like you're in the huddle and call a play. He wanted to see where his eyes were going.
Yep.
And he's like, what'd you do when you were calling that play? He's like, well, I was looking at the O-line during their section of it. I was looking at the receivers. I was, and those little, even after the combines, there's certain teams, like the top teams, Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants, they're bringing guys that they're expecting to draft out to their facility, possibly for a day, 2 days, whatever. They're spending hours with them. But that's a question that probably wouldn't get asked. Pretend like you're in a huddle when they're around the conference table.
Right.
Pretend like you're in a huddle and call a play.
Right.
And to think, let's see where his eyes go during that. That's something that Gruden's doing that me personally, I don't believe other teams across the NFL are doing that on a consistent basis. And Gruden's doing that with how many? 10, 15 quarterbacks a year? And I really think teams are taking advantage of watching his show and calling him and saying, what do you think about this guy? Pros, cons.
Yeah.
So before we move on, let's talk about, there's a lot of talk about the top, I'd say, especially 3-4 picks. And I think they're pretty standard across the board. I know teams change a little bit where they're talking about possibly trading up or down. In my mind, I have not seen a mock draft without Cam Ward, the quarterback of Miami. I think that's a pretty lock solid at number 1. Number 2, it's Cleveland right now. I say it's Travis Hunter. Pretty much every mock draft says Travis Hunter's going too. Now, the funny thing with him, he made that comment, which I think it's a little off the cuff, but people are taking it and running with it, where he says, if a team doesn't allow me to play both sides of the ball, I'm not playing football. Now, yes, that's awesome clickbait. That's awesome. Let's write articles about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe, like we talked about, you get drafted the end of April. Maybe you're going to sign your contract by June. Mini camps, you're in mini camps even before you sign, but you don't even know what's going on until August. Mm-hmm. So he's saying what he's saying. In my opinion, I think he's going to be a defensive back starter, and I think he's going to play about 25% of the reps on offense at wide receiver, certain packages.
Right.
That's my takeaway on it.
Because that's what Dion did.
Yeah.
Kick return made the difference. Kick return, punt return, DB, but then at the end he was third down.
Exactly.
Trips receiver. I mean, fast. Get him out in out in space.
But I think it's funny that at that level you're not calling shots there, Chucko. Like, you don't have a say. Like, you can kind of like Bill wanted to be a baseball player and play football at Wisconsin until he found out Wisconsin didn't have a baseball team.
Correct.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to be able to play, maybe a two-sport athlete.
Yeah.
You're not going both ways. I mean, it's rare that you can, and I hope you do, but probably wouldn't be throwing around what I want to do.
I agree. And that's where I think it's a little off the cuff him saying it. And he only said it to one. It was CBS, I think, was the only outlet that picked it up and ran with it. So I think he comes off like a smart kid. Like, he's always smiling, he's always joking, but I think he's a really intelligent kid, both on and off the football field. The next two, I think, guaranteed locks in the beginning of the first round is at the 3 spot, Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. That guy was just a disruptor this past year. And I think he's hands down the best defensive guy. And then at the 4th spot, the guy I love is Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. We reposted something with the podcast where he was talking about how he treated football as a business. And that kid, 1, he gets his job done on the field. But 2, he's got a head on his shoulders, and he comes off like that prototypical offensive lineman that we love, that we knew, that we grew up with, that we played with. And, I like what I have to hear from him. After that, I think those, if we were a betting person, if I was talking to my bookmaker down in Florida, I'd bet on those 4 guys. But after that, I think the rest of the first round is up in the air.
Right.
I think it depends where trades happen. I think guys are going to move up and down the board. We have one guy towards the end of our talk here about the NFL that we're going to bring up, a running back. But yeah, those are my four. What do you guys think about those? Do you think that the top four are going to – I mean, I think it's pretty much – it is what it is. I mean, every mock draft pretty much has
I think
one.
somebody always goes for the speed receiver. When you start getting into 5, 6, 7, right? I think you guys are missing the D tackle from Michigan.
So Mason Grant.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant is one of the guys. He's a big
From
boy.
Michigan? Okay.
And I mean, when you got 6'5", 6'6" guys that can hold the front and take on the double teams, let's face it. Once you start getting into your linebackers and your DBs, everybody's fast, right? And the more you can clog up the middle and let your linebackers fill the gaps and make the tackles.
And he's the kind of guy that can tie up 2 offensive linemen, and you're not able to come off on the second level.
Sure.
And basically you have your linebackers that are teeing off on people, which is what you love as a linebacker and what you love as a defensive lineman.
I think another big thing that changed the game with the NFL draft in the last probably 10, 15 years was the decision, do you go for what you need or do you go for best available player, best player on the board? And I think that's, I don't know what is the win, you know what I mean? Like if you need a D tackle, but a wide receiver is the best player on the board, do you take the wide receiver? I've seen it work both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously we saw it work for the majority of the years of the NFL draft. If you need a center, you draft a center.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these teams, and I think it's about 15 years ago, started, no, we're taking and Green Bay was synonymous with it with their former GM. He would always take the best player on the board. He didn't take what position was needed.
Right.
Like if we lost a center and we only had one center on the roster and he was third string last year, but there's a DB that's best available, he took the DB.
If you'd like fresh roasted cabin coffee delivered directly to your door, go to Cabin Coffee Altoona's Facebook page or 217 South Mills Facebook page. Click on the coffee order form link, fill it out, pick out your beans, and get them delivered directly to your front door. Cabin Coffee Altoona.
I think the other thing is when you talk history of the Green Bay Packers, I think in the last 3-4 years, there's a stat called RAS, R-A-S, and it's relative athletic score. And what it does is each position, it basically calculates your rankings. If you're a center, here's your height, your weight, your speed, your reach. It puts all this and your shuttle times, and it puts it all into a
AI.
pool. Well, yeah,
Doesn't
AI.
he sound like AI when he comes
Yeah.
on the show sometimes? He says RAS. I looked at you. You're like looking over. Like, what's
Wow.
he talking about?
When you
No,
see
I
it,
hear
I mean,
it.
every player the Packers look at, they look at that score versus all the history of all the centers, all the receivers. There's a formula, and let's face it, if it kind of goes back, you see it, right? You watch the moves, but do the stats back up what you're seeing, right? It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big win for coaches, GMs, just to know more about it. We're going to jump to the Shedeur Sanders here. It's the third from the last page. Here's the biggest question, I think, in the draft. So how much we hear about Cam Ward and Travis Hunter going 1 and 2. It's the whole thing about Shedeur Sanders. I've heard opinions. He's a second rounder. I've heard he's a late first rounder. I've also heard if Travis goes 2, Shedeur's going to go 3. Now, I don't think that's, in my opinion, I'm thinking mid first round with Shedeur. That's, if I was a betting man, that's where I place my bet. From what I've heard from scouts, the people that talk about him watching the Woke Network, is his eyes, his football IQ, that he plays and looks at things like he's already been playing in the league for 10 years. So I think that's his win. I think his downside, when you look at the stats, he's 500 or below at Colorado in 2 years. He doesn't throw the ball as much as a Cam Ward at Miami, who's a traditional passer. He's running a lot. He's throwing Hail Marys a lot. So when coaches and scouts look at tape, they don't get to see a lot of those ins and outs and posts and short passes. It's either he's dumping it off short or he's throwing it Hail Mary. He's not throwing the traditional NFL quarterback pass. So I think that's his downside.
I can't believe I'm even saying this, but if you take college Aaron Rodgers versus Shedeur Sanders, who do you take? We kind of watched Rodgers' little spiel on his pre-draft and who he was. But, I think when I see Shedeur, I think he drops out of the first round. I think we're all enamored with Dion, thinking that his son is fast. He only ran a 4.68 40.
Yep.
That's average with NFL quarterbacks, let's just face it. There was no games that I can remember that Shedeur came from behind and, led his team. When I look at other quarterbacks, I look at quarterbacks that are throwing for 400 or 500 yards. The quarterback from Washington last year who got hurt, he's still, he's on the bench. You got who's the Vikings take?
The kid from Michigan.
What's
right.
his?
McCarthy.
And they still don't know how good he is. They're, he obviously was hurt. You got his, I think, wasn't the ACL, but it was. What's the other one? MCL.
Yeah.
So he had minor surgery.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked out with the team all year, and they still don't know what they have in him until he gets out into the game.
Yeah.
So, to me, you have to develop, and that's the one thing that the Packers are really good about. They have their quarterback youth. They've been doing it for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
You had Favre, you had Kurt Warner, you had Mark Brunell. They consistently train how to be a quarterback. And look at the Titans. I think giving away Malik Willis for a 7th-round pick, I tell you what, there might be some teams asking the Packers if they want him for first or second.
I agree, but I think it was Tennessee, right?
Tennessee, yeah.
I think Malik played a lot better in Green Bay than he did in Tennessee.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I don't think he played. I think Tennessee just didn't see that out of Malik Willis while he was in Tennessee. I think he stepped his game up and played phenomenal as a Green Bay Packer.
But I think the Packers saw what he's gifted at, right? He's rollouts. He's got obviously moxie. He's 3-0 as a starter. He had a passer ratings of over 100 every game. I'll tell you what, as a backup quarterback, I want speed. Worst case scenario, we know we got to run the ball. My backup quarterback comes in. I'm doing a lot of rollouts, and I'm giving him the green light to run for first down.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
True.
All right. This is the pick. Actually, my bookmaker brought this up. The next page here is Cam Skattebo. We saw in the playoffs some phenomenal things that he did. And he's another one similar to a Shedeur. I've seen him as high as middle of the first round, as low as late 4th round. And Joe and I were talking about this beforehand. I go, his numbers are there. His moxie's there. Everything is there except for height. He's a short, stocky guy. And what I'm in fear of for him is he doesn't look like the traditional NFL running back. And I just don't. It's almost the same as the importance that NFL teams and owners like me talking about the 36-yard 40. It's if there's a guy that could play that plays like an all-pro, Pro Bowler, future Hall of Famer, but runs a slow 40, NFL teams are hesitant to take a guy like that. So I look at a Cam Skattebo, everything's there. Especially if you take him to a team that uses 2 running backs in the backfield. I think he'd be a phenomenal fit, but I think NFL teams are going to be a little cautious because he doesn't look like the traditional running back.
I agree with you, and he's too big and stocky to be like an Edelman, and we talked about that earlier, so... But here again, too, you can never measure heart on people, honestly, and that's
Correct.
what it comes down to. But then as you're an NFL, owner or a team, are you going to take that chance and throw money at this kid and to say if he pans
or
out?
to think, I'm even looking at this paper here. If I'm reading this right, it says, oh, no, I'm not reading it right. It's still middle of the first, late 4th. But are you going to pass him in the first, assuming he's still going to be there in the 3rd round? And that's the thing. We've all seen Draft Day, the movie with Kevin Costner, and I've never been on that side of it. But when I watched that movie, the little bit I've known, the scouts I've talked to, is the closest mirror to what actually happens on Draft Day. It's just every single 3 minutes, your whole world changes, and Is he going to be there? Yeah, maybe he drops to late fourth and somebody gets a steal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody's scared he's not going to be there and he's the last of the good running backs and somebody takes him early second round. You never know.
Well, yeah, I mean, your first running back probably going to be Ashon,
Ashon
Gentry, right?
yeah.
And but I'm going to say this: we've heard it from the very beginning of the season. Ohio State, they were loaded, right?
Yeah.
A lot of NFL draft prospects. I'm going to say it that there's 5 Ohio State guys drafted first round.
I believe it.
You know, and then you got that Trayvon Henderson running back. He's 4'4". He's a 4.43 guy from Ohio State. And then you got the Quinshon Judkins that dominated the national championship game. I mean, those two guys are horses.
Correct. But there's the example that I was talking about. When you say Genty, which, yes, we busted Boise State's balls all season long, and now I'll give him credit. He is the best running back in this year's draft, and Genty is going to be the first running back off the board. But the perfect example is you put Genty beside Cam Scadaboo. Those are 2 different physical specimens.
I agree.
And that's my fear for Scadaboo, for how much he can do catching balls out of the backfield, running his balls off, just putting the team on his back saying, we're going to win this game. And that's the unmeasurable that you can't measure.
Very true.
But then when you look at him and you're like, you don't really look like the running back. I don't know how much that's going to affect him, if any. Who knows? Maybe he's the second running back taken after Genty. You never know.
Time will tell. And my crystal ball is cloudy, so I can't tell you the answer.
Kevin looks like he's working on something deep here.
Always.
While he is, one of the last things we got to wrap up this show, which I think is an absolute joke. And here's my thing. I was a history major. One of probably my second favorite history. First was like history of wars, history of the Vietnam War. My second was history of the Olympics. I learned a lot that I didn't know, both good and bad about the Olympics. But nowadays, I think more as an adult. When you're a kid, you only know what's in the Olympics that you see on TV. There are so many comical sports in the Olympics. One of which, that I just wrote down, is race walking. Race walking is an actual Olympic sport, which I think is hilarious. It's like, are we just making stuff up? Like, let's have, how many drinks of water could you do in an hour as an Olympic sport? It's just making stuff up. Well, back to the NFL. NFL players want to play flag football in the Olympics. So here's my thing. I think it's a two-sided thing. I think a guy like Goodell is going to look at it and say, oh, the Olympics, that's worldwide. So he sees the money. But to the other side, God forbid, if somebody gets injured in the Olympics playing flag football.
Yeah, but you had the dream team in the 90s with the NBA players, and they obviously could have gotten hurt. I
know. It's just I don't know. But that's the talk. That's where the NFL's at right now, which I just think is funny. We've already done the let's play games all over the world because it's all about growing the business. The NFL, like college, we talk about it.
The NFL's a business.
A little bit. But now we're actually talking flag football in the Olympics with NFL guys. Yeah. Now, where it's going to get comical is what's their flag football contract going to be? Because they're not going to the Olympics on their NFL contract.
Oh, I agree.
I guarantee you that. Like, it's going to be, I want $1 million to go to the Olympics, or I want $10 million to go to, like, you want me on the world stage? You want us to win gold for the USA on the big stage? Pay me the money.
Very true.
So,
but then again, too, they also have they had breakdancing in the Olympics. So I mean, let's be honest. The amount of sports that are in the Olympics, like breakdancing, and we all saw the Australian just tear it up.
She's even struggled since the Olympics doing like sideshows in Australia. She's had issues and like stopped mid-dance, stuff like. I almost want to become an Australian citizen. Just to go there and compete against her, because I think I have a chance.
For breakdancing?
Yeah. Against her. Only against her. Not the Olympics.
Okay.
Like, I'm not trying to, go Olympic breakdancing.
No, I've seen you walk lately, and I don't think you got it.
But that's sort of a dance, like a little... like a little back step there.
That'll be your trademark, the waddle?
Well, she's got the kangaroo and the freaking... The spinning it like a top, spinning in a circle.
Maybe.
All right, what do we got here, AI?
All right, so AI. I talked a little bit about RAS, right?
Yeah.
And the relative athletic score. When you're over 8, it calls it the perfect prospect, right? And we're just going to use the 3 running backs. We talked about Ashton, 5'8",
Okay.
211 pounds.
Mhm.
He's got an 83 RAS.
Okay.
Okay. You talked the 2 Ohio State running backs.
Mhm.
Quinshawn Judkins, 6 foot, 221, a 92 RAS, right? 10-yard split, 1.57 seconds. You got Trayvon Henderson, 5'8", 208, runs a 4.43 with a 92 RAS. To me, I think Ashton drops down. I mean, he's kind of like one.
But so that RAS is just physical. The RAS is essentially the combine score.
Yep, it's
That has nothing to do with on the field,
Performance.
like yards after carry, yards per attempt.
After contact.
Yeah,
Like,
it has
all-
nothing to do with
zero.
that. It's just
It's-
combine,
all right.
your
So
size, your speed.
if you go to NFL.com,
Yep.
right, and you see the prospects, they have a production score. So production score is your
Productivity.
yes on the field, your
yeah.
stats, right? So then you have your athleticism score is, hey, now let's look at those combine. Let's go versus everybody that's been a running back. So when you see 92, he's in the 92 percentile of all running backs.
Mhm.
That's Quinshawn Judkins and Trayvon Henderson, both 92s
Mhm.
of all-time running backs. You take Ashton, he's only at 83.
Right.
So when you're talking about giving out millions,
Yeah.
that's why teams, you're seeing it. Once you start getting to the third round, you're starting to take athletes. That third round, sixth round, you're going to see it. Guarantee the Packers are going to take 2 receivers.
Yeah.
And guarantee they're probably one's going to be a speed demon and one's going to be a 6'3", 6'4" guy that's got high RAS.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You got to take it's a lottery, right?
This RAS is going to have my bookmaker down in Florida sweating because I'm sure he's trying to lay some bets on the draft because he loves betting on anything.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up another episode of 217 South Mills.
It's brought to you by Cabin Coffee, located in Altoona, Wisconsin, 2922 Meadowlark Lane.
And Pizza Del Rey, located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, our favorite pizza place in the state. See you next time.
See you next time, folks. Thank you for listening to another episode of 217 South Mills.
If you like what you heard, smash the like and follow buttons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Cabin Coffee Altoona. Tune in next time, folks.